All right, we are live.
Okay, good morning. Welcome, senators. I'm excited to get the fall semester started. I just wanted to first off welcome our new senators this semester. Ellen Black, Carrie Stewart, Diane Patterson, who is out today, Shelby Flanagan, Marnie Smith, Nelson Lozano, Cheryl Gary Furge, Robert Burton, Trenton Barnes, and Kristen Weinzappel. So Kristen is our special new senator. She was appointed by the president. So based on the new Senate Bill 37 rules, he has the ability to appoint one senator, and he chose so wisely. So we're excited to welcome Kristen in. And I just want to say thank you to all the elected senators for being willing to step up and volunteer to be the voice for your division. Um, Hopefully we all take that duty seriously, and uh, I really appreciate it. I wanted to throw out that our faculty senate is viewed very positively. In fact, we had to get ratified by the board to be able to continue to operate under the Senate Bill 37 rules. And the vice chair even mentioned how important the voice of the faculty senate is to the board. And so I think that is a true testament to the work that we've been doing and how we represent ourselves and stay focused on the important stuff. So I really appreciate that. And I really appreciate everybody for being willing to step in and into that role. We do have only one vacancy as far as Senate seats go, and that is in the Division of Engineering and Technology. It is a very small division. Um, so there's a division chair, there's a full-time faculty member who's been here for a little bit, who was on faculty senate last year and has rotated off. And then there's a new faculty member. So they don't really have a whole lot of choices for who can serve as senator. So for this year, because they work very closely with the Division of Industrial Technology, they are going to use Dustin as their go-to person for any issues that they have. So Dustin, thank you for being voluntold that you're representing them as well. It's a small group, but I've told them just come to you if they have issues. Okay, so moving on to just announcements and general updates. We did hear at the general meeting in August that there were some issues this summer with students being dropped on a Thursday when the campus is closed Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and the class is moving very fast. And so we will be reaching out to registration and any other points that we need to make contact with to talk about that and see if we can get a better system set up where the students have an opportunity to get back in the class quickly and not get so far behind. So that is definitely on our radar. I know that this semester, it seems like they've already dropped students for non-payment. I've already seen students being reinstated. So hopefully we're not seeing that issue in the long semester where they get dropped on a Friday and can't get back in all weekend. If anybody's hearing about that, anybody have any of those issues? I guess you won't know until next week, really. So if you hear about that, just reach out and let us know, because that is definitely an issue that we saw this summer. Questions, comments, concerns about that? Okay.
Oops, sorry.
That's okay.
I should have raised my hand, but I was trying to find my button. Yeah, because why are they doing that? Because we submitted our roster like we did it last night, and then we're waking up this morning. They want us to get it done as early as possible, and then we're waking up this morning. Oh, you need to go back and do this. Student they were just added back this morning. That doesn't put us in a good position. It's putting us on a list like we're not doing our work, but we are doing it. It's just that they're adding people back at the last minute, and we're being put on the naughty list because of that.
Well, so here's the deal, and we've had Kate come in and talk about this before. The the deadlines for the state and for our own payment systems are so close, and they have not been able to find a way to separate out drops for non-payment and drops for non-attendance. So those two are happening and they're kind of meshed together, and that's what causes that issue. So I will say that I have not heard of any division chairs being or anybody really getting in trouble over that. I think we've brought enough attention to that that they understand that those two are meshed, and they are generally communicating, I believe, when students are being re-enrolled in the class. I know my student that got dropped for non-payment, I got an email saying they were re-enrolled, which then alerts me to go in and make sure that I have their attendance correct in the system. Is everybody else getting those emails when your students are being reinstated?
Yeah, okay, so like this morning I got it. I'm sorry, but I got it, but the student is not in Canvas yet for me to even see
Mm,
if
yes,
they have done anything. And so I just did what they said. They put them
yes.
back in. I just said, they attended, but I don't know because they're
Oh,
not back in Canvas yet. So that's
yeah,
a problem with it being the last day and you want it by noon. The student
yeah.
hadn't populated back in Canvas.
Um, and I would just reach back out to them and say, I don't have access to the data right now because the student is not back in Canvas. I would let them know that that issue is going on and let them know you are willing to update it as soon as you actually have the data. But if you don't have the data, I don't know how you can certify that whether they've been attending or not. Now, the workaround that Donna Smith gave her group was to certify early while those students have not been dropped for non-payment, and then print out your certification form so that when they get added back in, you still have that data of what you entered. So if you're certifying early in the process, then printing your form that you submitted, then you have that data. But then again, it doesn't give that student a chance to magically show up in class, you know, on the last possible day that they could actually be marked as attending. So it's kind of a trade-off. Any other questions, comments, concerns on that?
Ben left a comment in the
In,
uh,
oh,
chat there.
oh, look at that. There's comments over here. Sorry, I was in a direct chat. Missing students and number certified. Yes, exactly. Yeah, so when the division chairs are getting these lists, it does say like, Misty Hamner, one student missing, and then Ben knows, oh, yeah, you certified your rosters, just somebody got added back in. So we have that. Yeah, and you can easily print the form once you have certified. The student stating they were dropped, reinstated. Oh, well, that is interesting. Um, Justin says he had a student stating they were dropped, reinstated, but no assignments came back. Ooh. If you can get with me after the meeting, maybe, or send me an email with a little more information on that,
Yes,
we
ma'am.
can get e-learning probably to check into that and see what happened. It's probably based on whether they're using an outside system or not. I don't know. I'm not going to talk on technology. I started to talk on technology. I don't know anything about technology, so I'm not going to go there. But we can check with e-learning and see what's going on there. They would definitely need to know about that because everything should come back once they're
Yes, ma'am, and that's kind of what I was thinking as well. And I explained that to him that in the past I've seen the students be reinstated and their assignments do, follow them. So I wasn't quite sure if it was just a glitch or something, or if the student just failed to do the assignments and just trying to, get a little bit more
Yep,
grace time.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I would check with e-learning because they have all like the past. They can look at the previous versions of your course and see that kind of information. So,
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
oh, you are so welcome. And Kimberly says she had a student that was dropped for non-payment, but he had confirmation. Hopefully they got that fixed quickly. I'm sure, I mean, they are human and there are going to be some errors, but hopefully it's minimal. Kimberly, did they get your student added back quickly? Do you know?
He just messaged me and showed me the confirmation. So he was going to go to the Flower Mound campus and get it all checked on to make sure that everything's kosher and he can get added back.
Oh, gracious. I hate that he's having to go to campus for that. So, ugh. Okay. Any other questions, comments, concerns on that?
I had a comment on the
Mhm.
getting dropped. It doesn't seem to be an issue for non-payment, getting dropped for non-payment. It doesn't seem to be an issue for the longer semesters. I'm not even for, 16 weeks or even the 8 weeks, which I teach frequently because they will wind up getting dropped on a Tuesday or a Wednesday. And there's plenty of time just to call the next morning and take care of it in the next 2 or 3 days while they're open. But it seems to be only with the shorter sessions, like the Maymester or the 3-week Maymester or the summer 1 and summer 2, because they are dropped on Thursday. And even though they drop them on Thursday morning, it takes a couple hours for them to come out of Canvas. And so the students don't realize it until they go in Thursday night after 5 p.m. usually to try to do their homework assignments. And they realize my course is gone. I can't reach to my assignments, but then there's nobody they can reach out to until
Right.
Monday morning. And so in the summer classes, they typically have things due daily. And
Yeah.
so they can collect a couple of zeros before they're able to reach anyone. But it's all that time that they're out of content because they can't access their content or their info or assignments, which is a lot in the fast course. But it doesn't seem to be an issue, at least for my classes, in the longer
Okay, and
ones.
that's kind of what I was thinking that we're seeing this issue in the summer. I wasn't aware of the Maymester, so I'm glad you mentioned that. We will definitely reach out to Kate and see who else we need to reach out to and see what we can get done about this, because that is very disruptive to the students' learning process to be out of the course for several days in a 5-week or, oh my goodness, a 3-week course would be just crazy.
Well, I
So,
have a suggestion that worked very well the summer before last. They did not do it this past summer. I'm not sure why I asked, but I'm not sure if there was a change. But the summer before last, even though the campus and the offices were closed, there was somebody from the registrar doing emails,
okay.
and they did do email support on Friday, Saturday. I don't for sure remember Sunday, but I do remember having students who were out Thursday evening and they got back in Friday morning, and that was just done via email support. I don't know what all goes into having somebody do extra hours or I guess weekend hours, Friday hours in the summer, but that was done the year before last and worked
Right.
quite well, but it didn't, we didn't
Nice.
see that this past summer.
Nice. And we have asked e-learning to put a banner in Canvas, especially during the summer session, saying, drops for non-payment will be happening on this date. Please make sure you have paid, to hopefully head off some of those issues before the students get dropped.
Oh, and
So,
I do that in my classes now. I've started sending announcements twice in Canvas. I do it in class, and this current drop that we just had, I only had 2 out of 4 classes.
nice. Excellent. Okay. We moving on to constitutional amendments? We good with that? Okay. So, huge constitutional amendment has been happening to bring us into line with Senate Bill 37. So those are the rules that we're operating under right now is Senate Bill 37. We just have to make our Constitution line up with that. A huge thank you to Jeremy Brannon, who did so much work on this, and Osceola Wilson. Jason took a look at it as well. I worked on it. We have done the amendments that we think will bring the bill bring our constitution into line with Senate Bill 37, and I have forwarded that to Dr. Wallace because I want to make sure that we have the way he is appointing the officers and the senator in line with what he wants. So, because the Senate bill gives him, you know, the control of appointing president, vice president, secretary, as well as one senator. So we want to make sure that the verbiage in our constitution lines up with the way he wants that done. So as soon as we get approval from him on that kind of stuff, then we will have to vote on the constitutional amendments as a faculty senate. I will do that through, or Jason will, we'll do that through Canvas. So be watching for that. We'll have it open for a week. When the senators vote, we need 2/3 of the senators who vote to approve it for it to move on. And then once it moves on to all faculty, then we need 50% of the faculty who vote to be in favor of it. If we cannot pass the constitutional amendments to bring us in line with the law, then faculty senate will be abolished. So that's kind of where we're at. Not a whole lot of choice other than, you know, there are some things in there that Dr. Wallace is able to choose. So we just want to make sure that we are in line and following what the law says. Let me see, what else? I sent y'all a document because based on the new law, senators get 2-year terms, but they want about half of the senators rolling off a faculty senate each year. So what we did is we went through, we looked how long have people served on faculty senate. If you've served for at least 1 year already, then you're assigned a 1-year term, and the new electees are getting 2-year terms. Does anybody have any questions, comments, or concerns about the way we have that set up? I wanted to make sure everybody was good with that. I didn't want to just dictate this is what it is, but that's the logic behind it. Everybody's good with that? Okay. Yeah, I think that's most of our discussion of the constitutional stuff. Textbook committee updates. I did get an update from Cammie, who is the chair of the textbook committee. BiblioU will be closing all bookstore services on September 18th. So that is next Thursday. And then Barnes and Noble will not start until October the 3rd.
Misty,
Yes.
real quick, someone was asking about the term limits for senators on the chat there.
Yes, so elected senators have a 2-year term limit, and then you have to rotate off for 2 years before you can be re-elected. Okay, so yeah, that's the new rule. Which it's funny because that used to be our rule, was you could serve 2 1-year terms and then you had to rotate off. And then we did away with term limits and now they're back. So it's not a huge difference from what we've done in the past. I would say the biggest concern is those really small divisions having a hard time, you know, getting senators in because they don't have a lot of choices for who could do it. So, okay, does that answer the question? Good. Okay, so back to BiblioU. Dr. King's going to be developing a statement to include in Canvas to let students know about the bookstore situation. So watch for that to come out. There have been mixed reports of when Barnes and Noble will actually start providing services. And Cammie is hoping for more news next week because they will be meeting next week. So hopefully we'll get some updates on that. The Thanksgiving break proposal that we worked on last year, remember we said we were going to present it in the fall. I'm going to request to be on the October board agenda because the board decides on the calendar in November. So I want to make sure that we get on the agenda for October so that we can present the Thanksgiving break proposal. So let me see, we got some stuff coming in. Why is my mouse not working? Barnes and Noble, yes, and as far as I know, Barnes and Noble will only open the bookstore in Gainesville. They will not be reopening the one in Corinth. That's, I think, where we stand at this point. Okay, good. And then Liz put in the chat what the wording looks like for the message that's going to go out about the bookstore. And Anne, somebody actually brought that question on Scantrons. So I do have an update, and I just saw an email come in just a minute ago. I'm gonna close out my email because it's doing that stupid, I need you to feed me the password every 5 minutes thing. So I know that Jessica DeRoche has said that in Denton, they have some Scantrons for emergency use there in her office. They're encouraging people to look on Amazon to purchase them. Roxanne says that on the Corinth campus, they have extra Scantrons at the campus safety desk, and she and Joanne have Scantrons on the 3rd floor. So I don't know about the Flower Mound campus. I didn't get a response about Flower Mound. So Anne, I don't know the answer to your question yet, but I did get alerted to that yesterday, and so we are asking, and Jessica has brought it to Dr. King, and he and the deans are supposed to be determining the next step. So, okay. Scantrons. Who would have known that we would have so many issues just getting Scantrons on campus? Any questions about textbooks, bookstore stuff? I don't know the answers, but you can ask. And then I can ask and we can see what we can find out. Okay, I know that's a big concern for us, you know. The nice thing is with Barnes and Noble, it looks like we will be headed back to inclusive access, which is so much easier for the students, and hopefully we can stick with that without students getting overcharged for books. So, okay, just a quick, I skipped this one, TCCTA reminder. Faculty are encouraged to join TCCTA. That is our collective community college voices. If you have questions, please contact Jane England or Pat Ledbetter. They have been at this for a good while, being our representatives for TCCTA, so they probably know almost all the answers. Yes, Brittany, from what I'm hearing, the Corinth bookstore is not opening on October 3rd. The Corinth bookstore, I believe, is going away. So that is an issue for us. Okay. Thanksgiving break proposal. As I said, I'm going to try to get on the board agenda for October and just present what we came up with last year, give them all the data, let them be what they think is, you know, best for the college, but presenting, you know, what faculty think about that, that kind of a break. So any questions about Thanksgiving proposal?
No, but I do have a question regarding the textbooks. I was thinking about it. I was reading the chat. In the chat, it says there's a wording that will be coming up in Canvas, and it says temporary downtime for course materials. NCTC will transition from Bibliu to Barnes and Noble bookstore for course materials between September 18 and October 3rd. Here's my question. During this period, students will experience downtime or limited access to textbooks and resources. Does that mean they won't be able to access that, or I guess do we know what that means? Maybe this is me asking a question that we don't know yet.
That is a really good question. Let me just grab that wording. And we will bring that. You got that, Jason? Can you grab that wording? Yeah. Let's highlight that part because they shouldn't, if they've already purchased the textbook, they shouldn't experience any downtime accessing their textbooks and resources. It should just be a matter of being able to get new textbooks and resources.
Okay, no,
Which will be
that
a
was
pro-
my thought. Go ahead.
So will it be available in time for the second 8 weeks coming in?
That,
That's my concern. I've got second 8-week AP students coming in.
as far as I know, that is the plan. Barnes and Noble is supposed to be in place for second 8 weeks, but I can't promise anything. That would be, if you're concerned about it, I would say reach out to Cami. She is the chair of that textbook committee. She would know a lot more about it than I do. So I would encourage you to reach out to Cami Boaz. Jeremy, you got a question?
Yeah, that announcement says that students registered second 8 weeks should purchase before September 18th, yet I thought they were going to inclusive access. So what would they need to purchase?
Oh, yeah, Jason, make a note of that question too. So are they saying they need to purchase their books from BibliU by next Thursday when the second 8 weeks doesn't even start? And my goodness.
No, I had the same question as Jeremy, just because I also have second 8 weeks frequently, and I don't see them
Those are
doing
good
that,
questions.
pushing their materials that far in advance. Some of them don't get added to the class until the second or third day with late adds.
And then it says, that Barnes and Noble will provide all course materials beginning October 3rd. Thank you, Liz. I don't know that any of us know the answers to these questions, but thank you for sharing that wording because maybe we can get some of those questions ironed out and alert them that the wording as it is may just cause a bunch of panic at this point. Because I'm panicking and I don't even have a second 8 weeks class. So
Because if they have to buy it beforehand, but then they switch to inclusive access,
yeah,
they won't be able to necessarily get their money back from the biblio.
yeah, that does not make sense.
That's what I worry about.
Yeah,
And then
often read.
classes start on the 20th, and then some of mine, whether they roll to AP2 depends on if they make it through AP1 with me.
Yeah,
We know that in that last week just before it starts.
right. Right. Okay. Well, these are great questions. We will definitely pass those on so that they can get that wording straightened out because that's confusing. I'm glad y'all stopped and read that because I didn't.
But so for all of us teaching 16 weeks who have already purchased access, since they already have that, they should not lose the ability to get to their materials or do their assignments because they already paid for that. Is that what we're assuming that means? Otherwise, do we all need to be looking at changing due dates and changing extensions if students can no longer get to their resources?
I'm assuming that since they have purchased it, then the access now lies with the publisher. So it's not a BibliU controlled kind of thing because they purchased access. The access is with the publisher. I would not anticipate any issues with that. But again, I am not the expert on this. So we'll definitely have them check that wording because the impression from the wording is that they could lose access, which is concerning. So, Jeremy, comment question?
Yeah, I remember there was a bit of, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I remember there was a bit of discussion about how OER courses were going to be treated in this inclusive access as well, because this is applied to the tuition of all students, whether they're using, at least that was my understanding, it applies to all students regardless of whether their course has a textbook or not associated with it. Is that correct? Or is it only the courses that have, a textbook that they get inclusive, they have to pay for inclusive access?
I was under the impression that it was only the classes that are using a textbook would have the charges associated with it, and that was why I know a lot of the division chairs were working on figuring out who's using OER and who's actually using textbooks, because Barnes and Noble needs to know that to set a price, because it's not going to be like with BibliU, the price was based on the textbook. With Barnes and Noble, it's essentially going to be a flat rate, and everybody for all textbooks pays the same rate per credit hour. So if they were charging everybody, all they would need to know is how many students do we have to determine that. So I'm assuming that it's only the students who are purchasing textbooks that are going to have that charge. So OER courses should not be charged that. But that's a great question. Jason, you got that one down too? Okay, Jason's making us a to-do list over there, which we're going to give to Doug because, you know, he needs more to do with his life. Okay. We good now? Moving on to student handbook review. So I know last long semester, we ended off talking about some of the student etiquette issues that we were seeing. And Dr. King said, you know, that we could review the student handbook and make suggestions for changes. We did at the general meeting get some volunteers for that. We have Danielle Wagner, Ann Coltman, and Ellen Black. I wanted to see if anybody else wanted to volunteer to work on that. I have not gotten that committee started going yet. I'm just trying to get our faculty senate in line with Senate Bill 37 at this point. That's my first duty. Anybody else want to volunteer to look at the student handbook? I was so sure that Tom Kite was going to volunteer for this. Okay, we will stick with those three, and I will send them an email just kind of outlining what Dr. King and I have talked about what needs to be reviewed, what will be in that purview. I still didn't pressure him into doing it, so Tom is very resistant to pressure, apparently. We had talked about doing safety and security training. And we had initially thought maybe September the 19th for an active shooter type training, followed by a 1-hour question and answer session with our safety and security team. Unfortunately, they are not available for September the 19th. So we are going to push that to October the 17th, because remember, third Friday is our professional development day. So I get that, Tom. A lot of other things on your plate. Third Friday is our professional development day, so we'll use that third Friday in October for that type of training. So I know Nicole Shaw, Officer Shaw, has said that she can be there on the 17th of October. So that is the current plan. So watch for information coming out about that. Bid committee updates. Doug is driving, so he asked me to share with y'all. They had a meeting this past week. There were over 100 more CARES cases reported in the 24-25 academic year than there were in the 23-24 academic year. So they're looking at some of the data there, but understand that those CARES reports, we are definitely, I think, maybe getting better at reporting things and knowing when to report things. There have been 28 so far this year. So good job reporting those and getting our students in contact with the people that they need to get help. Just continue to encourage your divisions to report when there are issues, because the more students that we can get help for, the more successful they are, more successful we are.
And Misty, I would say that those are not students, but the number, so multiple CARES reports could have been done for and have been done for students. So
Okay.
that doesn't That's just the number of reported CARES reports.
Okay, so not necessarily 100 more students reported, just 100 additional reports, maybe multiple reports on the same student. Okay, that's good information to have. Okay. Questions about bid committee? They are still reminding everybody who's handling those CARES reports to please reach back out to the people who have submitted them to let them know they were received. Give them whatever information they can. Understand that if you're not receiving a lot of information on that, a lot of that information is protected, but they should be reaching back out to you to let you know that your report was received and that they are handling it. So hopefully y'all are seeing those reports coming back to you. I did attend instructional council. So just a few updates from there. The testing center is considering adding evening testing times. So they're looking at the possibility of doing that. I think that's probably has a little bit to do with the math division. We make all of our online students test on campus. And so we're hoping that they'll be able to add that. The enrollment number was pretty steady, but we do have more contact hours. So while we have around the same number of students we've had in the past, they are taking more courses. So that's encouraging, because as we heard it at convocation, some of our students are taking up to 6 years to complete that associate's degree. So hopefully as we see students taking more courses, they'll be able to reach that milestone sooner and get in those better paying positions and get their careers going. I did ask about our international student enrollment. We definitely have fewer international students this semester than we have in the past. We did not take as big of a hit as UNT did. Some of the four-year universities really saw huge drops in international student enrollment due to concerns with visas. We did not take quite as big of a hit. So on a personal note, I'm just going to say, for those of y'all who have students from Nepal, if you're not paying attention to the news and what's going on over there, you might want to look at that, because it may explain why some of your students are a little stressed out this week. So graduation regalia orders email has been sent out. So if you need new graduation regalia, please get those orders in. And then Jennifer Beal, being the amazing person that she is, provided us with a PowerPoint to share. So let me see if I can share this with y'all. Just some of the enrollment management update numbers. Can y'all see that? Excellent. Liz, is that coming through on the YouTube? Holler if not.
Yes.
I don't
Yes,
know
you're
what
good.
you feel about it. Okay. I was like, I don't know what I feel about it. Holler. So, yes, there. Oh my goodness. Okay. I don't usually do PowerPoints, so y'all bear with me. So fall enrollment updates, you can see we have 3,851 new students, 4,603 continuing students. And as we saw, contact hours, credit hours has increased, and our total head count is here, but it will increase with as students register for that second 8 weeks. You've got campus breakdown, and this will all be in the minutes we've got this included, but you can see campus breakdown. You can see our biggest growth being here in the online. I don't think that's a real big surprise. And then our spring 2025 graduation, we had 717 total graduates. You can see the male-female breakdown. I found this fascinating. Minimum age of our graduating students was 18 and the maximum was 70. So, and you can see degrees and awards over here. Average GPA was 3.29, so that's pretty amazing. 35.7% of our graduates were Pell students. And then this is kind of interesting. They are rolling out a new supporter hub. This is going to be to help engage with parents and the community getting more information out there about what's going on campus, access to, you know, news, deadlines, all that kind of stuff. So the supporter hub's going to be rolling out, starting with the Red River Promise High School students, then parents of currently enrolled students, community members, and eventually to prospective parents. So, so they can see, yes, your student's going to be here and you're going to know what's going on with them and know what's going on our campus. So if you have events that you are planning, make sure that they are getting on our calendar so that our community is getting access to that information, so you can increase how many people are coming to all your fabulous things. Okay. Questions about enrollment?
Misty, I had a
did-
quick one.
Yes.
On there, that supporter hub, is that going to be an app or a distinct part of the NCTC website?
That's a good question. That is a great question. I think it is going to be an app that they are, but I'm not 100% sure.
Okay.
It is. It's a separate application that you would make an account to.
See, Liz being here is awesome. Robert, thank you. I was like, perspective does not quite sound right. Yes, it should be perspective. Good. Yes. That's no, Jennifer. That fixed before anything rolls out like that. I did want to say, be sure to save the date. October the 31st is going to be IE/assessment day. That is our 5th Friday. That is our specialized training Friday. So that's going to be coming. You should see information about that coming out from Osceola Wilson at some point soon, I would assume. But definitely mark your calendars, save the date. October 31st will be our IE/assessment day. Okay. Current and ongoing issues. I just wanted to make a quick announcement of the meeting dates and times. You should see those popping up on your Canvas calendar. I don't know that we have them all in there, but I will definitely make sure either Jason or I gets them put in. We'll check the Canvas calendar. But we had our meeting today. The rest of the meetings for the rest of this semester will be on first Fridays, which is our committee Fridays at 11 a.m. So October the 3rd, November the 7th, and December the 5th if we need a meeting in December. Okay. I myself a note to check Canvas for that. We will once again start working on the adjunct pay raise proposal. I know we didn't get what we wanted this past year. Things were very tight financially. I am glad that the adjuncts at least got a $10 per credit hour raise. I know it's not much, but what we will look at is, you know, talking about how to bring the adjunct pay more into line with the types of increases that full-time faculty have seen. So we'll go back through the data, we'll present it all again. I will say that it was very well received. Cabinet seemed to understand the need for the pay raise for our adjunct instructors. And they even pointed out to the board that if additional funds were found, the two major places that we need additional funds to go, utilities, because those are, you know, increasing very rapidly. And then they were like, and second on the list would be adjunct pay. So we've at least put the bug in their ear, and we'll just keep presenting the information and the importance of our adjuncts and the importance that they, you know, have a decent raise. So, okay. Questions, new issues? I did want to run through, I went executive council updates. I did attend executive council. So just a couple of updates there, and then we can move on to questions. There are some new travel restrictions being due to some new laws. So if we are traveling to certain specific countries, and they will send out a list, places like Russia and Cuba and places like that, it is now going to be required that employees, including faculty, report their planned travel to those countries to HR before leaving. And when you get back, meet with them and just let them know what all happened during your travels. So it's kind of just keeping an eye on those travels to specific countries. So I found that interesting. That will definitely be new for us, but there will be information coming out on that, letting y'all know which countries are on that list. Referrals to SACs and everything in Texas are now being changed to accrediting agency, because we're no longer required to stick with SACs. The colleges are allowed to choose the accrediting agency they want to be accredited through. We will stay with SACs per Dr. Wallace because we're already set up for that. It is a huge expense to change accrediting agencies because it takes double the amount of personnel to be able to do that. So we will stay with SACs. He did bring up the bill on telework, and essentially adjunct faculty are allowed to do telework. We are allowed to do things like video lectures, stuff like that. Office hours, we need to be on campus during our office hours for sure. Make sure that your divisions know that posted office hours, you got to be there. I mean, I don't think we have an issue with that. I know that, our instructors are always excited to meet with students and that kind of stuff. So, but just be aware that that is out there. AA degrees are now being referred to as terminal degrees, which is kind of interesting because most of us think of those associate's degrees as being the springboard towards the bachelor's degree, but that is being put out there now that is, they're thinking of that as a terminal degree. Senate Bill 25 states that we must provide the opportunity for students enrolled in an associate's or bachelor's degree program to complete a course in nutrition education. So there's that. Curious. Kind of makes you wonder where we're heading with that, if anywhere, but that is out there. Senate Bill 1 says that you may not prohibit faculty or students learning about or researching a country, and you may not impede learning or research in a country or engaging with scholars and representatives unless they are a state sponsor of terrorism. So I'm like, okay, so we got to report our travel, but we can't be restricted from actually doing it. So I found that kind of interesting. Okay, and we talked about the Scantrons. So I just saw something come in from Sarah Cluth. Sarah Cluth says Flower Mound has Scantrons available in her office at the work study desk in the lobby. So, okay. Other new issues. Robert, you got something for us? Jerry's got something. Robert has shared the developmental leave homepage. You want to talk about that real quick?
Not especially, but I can. If you have a project or something that would require a sabbatical, a leave of absence, you can apply for developmental leave funds to go do that. We're still looking for some sucker to get through this so we can use that as a demonstration of how it looks and how it works. But so far we hadn't had any applicants. So there's a big project. We would love to talk to you about how we could get you through that process so we could get you some money so you could do this big thing, bring some credibility to our program, the developmental leave, but also NCTC and also to yourself. So if you want to talk about that, I put up the link and that goes to the Faculty Senate page, but if you want more information, talk to me directly, please.
Thank you, Robert. Sherry, you had your hand up?
Mine is still on the issue of the students' names in Canvas.
Yeah.
The big issue I ran into in the spring was I had two sisters whose first name started with the same letter. And their display name that they changed to was just the first letter of the name and their last name. And for roster search, stuff like that, it's not a big issue, but having to go to their student ID every single time I needed to work on grading and stuff, or when they'd ask how am I doing, was a real headache. It was time consuming, and being a little dyslexic with numbers was a pain in my bottom, with all honesty. Done a little research on it. So apparently the admins can override and manage the names to where it comes through to what was in Genzabar. And some suggestions they've had, because they don't have a separate column for preferred names, to be able to keep that roster name, they suggest maybe using like the notes list for that. But they said the downfall on it is that, like, when you do any of your sorting, that may not sort with it necessarily.
Okay.
So, but I'll just say that was an absolute headache in the spring, having those two sisters do that, and that weekly problem. I have no problem with a student telling me preferred name. It's like my hybrids, I ask them, what's your preferred name?
Yes.
When I don't see them online and I've got something like that, it makes it crazy difficult.
Yes.
So.
Yes. I know that I had communicated with you that they are working on a way to do like legal name, current name, preferred name in my NCTC, but I don't think that'll fix the issue that you were having, because your issue's in Canvas. So we will reach out to e-learning and see what we can do about that, see if there's anything that they can request be done. I mean, that would be a great upgrade to Canvas, would be for them.
Yeah, to have the actual legal roster name and to have a column, but good luck. Canvas takes forever to respond to our request.
Yeah.
Instruction's kind of slow to migrate.
It'll be your legacy that you'll leave behind as you retire. Oh goodness.
But that was something I wouldn't have thought about until I ran into it in the spring, and it was a nightmare every week, and especially since I didn't physically see them. They're part of that online 30 micro students.
Yes.
And I had others that had changed their names, but their names were different enough that it's never been as big an issue. But that one was bad. So that was something I wanted to bring up, see if we could find some way, or maybe, get some progress from e-learning, or kind of get the two of them together to help us on that. I wouldn't want another instructor to have to go through that, especially a new instructor that's trying to work.
Absolutely. I have 3 sets of twins in my classes this semester. Now, fortunately, only one set has the same first initial, but I feel your pain with that.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like I said, I don't mind preferred names. That's fine with me. I need to see the name to make it easier for grading, because there's already a lot going on.
Absolutely.
Yes. Other questions, comments, concerns? I did want to share an absolutely fabulous resource that I found the other day, because I'm pretty good with the Hispanic names, but the Nepali names I am not good at. I don't know their pronunciation rules or anything. I did find a website called pronouncenames.com, and you can put names in there and it will tell you how to pronounce them. And I had one student who I put his name in, and there was like a pronunciation guide, but then when I said it in class, it wasn't right. But there was no audio file. But they can actually upload an audio file so that we will know how to pronounce their names. I was like, I need you to upload that audio file so that I can sit there and practice your name repeatedly, so I can quit butchering it every time in class. So, because I'm trying. But, oh. Any other questions, comments? Okay, well, we will get together. For those of you who are new, what we typically do is towards the end of the month, we'll send like kind of just a little summary of what all we talked about before your division meetings, to make sure you have that to share with the divisions. As always, it's up to you what you share. We'll put stuff in there that will be like, hey, highlight this, please make sure you share this, but everything else kind of, you know what your division's needs are, and you know what y'all are most interested in discussing. You can talk about it all. You can talk about just the things that are of interest to your division, up to you, but we will get that out to y'all at the end of the month. So, okay, well, thank you everybody for being here, and let me know if any issues come up in the next month or the next 3 weeks, I guess, and we will see y'all in 3 weeks.